I'll just get the recording started. Good to go.
Recording in progress.
Good evening. I'd like to call to this meeting to order for the Committee of Adjustment for June 17th, 2025. Committee members in attendance this evening are Kevin Antonitis, Fabia Billing, Adam Mottershead is online, Dylan Bailey is online, and myself, Daniel Collins. Staff members present this evening are Michaela Bray, Intermediate Planner, Dilhara Abby Wardenay, Secretary Treasurer, and is Sarup online?
Yeah.
Okay, Sarup Sandhu, Planner, is also online. Members of the public are advised that our meetings are live streamed by the town of Grimsby. Individuals and media may be audibly and or visually recorded during this meeting. As a reminder, all electronic devices are to be in silent mode during our committee meeting. I'm going to give an overview of the meeting procedures. The purpose of the application and relative correspondence will be heard, following which the applicant will be given the opportunity to address the application. Any person concerned with the application will then be given an opportunity to speak. At the conclusion of the discussion, the committee will render a decision and advise of any applicable conditions. Copies of decisions will be mailed to the applicant or agent and to any other person who files a written request. To request a copy of the decision, please email Dilhara Abby Wardenay, Secretary Treasurer, at coa@grimsby.ca. The applicant, the town of Grimsby, the minister, or a specified person or public body has the right to appeal either the decision itself or the conditions of consent to the Ontario Land Tribunal, known as the OLT, within 20 days of the date of giving of notice under subsection 17 completed for a consent application, and within 20 days of the date of decision for a minor variance application. Specified persons and certain public bodies include public utilities, but do not include an individual or community association. Everyone present will be given an opportunity to comment on the applications being heard. Please address your comments and questions through me, the chair. Each participant will be provided 5 minutes to speak. Each participant may only speak once. If you hear your comment presented by someone else, please do not duplicate the remarks. When you are called, we ask that you state your name and address for the record. Agencies commenting on applications may request that certain conditions be imposed. Voicing objections to these conditions will not adversely affect the committee's decision. All members of the committee have viewed the properties on the agenda tonight and are familiar with the lands that are subject to the applications. Before we get into hearing the applications, we're just going to do some committee business. Do any members of the committee have a pecuniary interest with respect to the applications that are before us this evening? Okay, I see none. We will now consider the adoption of the agenda for this evening. Would someone please make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented? So moved. It's moved. And a seconder? Okay, thank you. So that's moved by Member Antonitis and seconded by Member Billing. We have to put that to a vote. Let's put that to a vote. All in favor say aye or raise your hand. I see none. Opposed. Good. Are there any requests for withdrawal or adjournment? No. Okay, thank you. Have the committee members had the opportunity to review the minutes from May 20th, 2025? Are there any questions or comments about the minutes? I see none. Do we have a mover and a seconder for that? I see Adam has moved it, thank you. And a seconder? Fabia, okay. So that's moved by Member Mottershead, seconded by Member Billing. All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. No one opposed? Okay, so that is approved. Tonight, we have 3 applications before us. The first application we're going to hear is A1925 for 578 Main Street West, and I'll turn it over to the Secretary Treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, so the purpose of this application is to legalize 2 existing secondary suites within a single detached house. The variances requested are to permit 2 secondary dwelling units within a single detached dwelling, whereas 1 secondary suite per dwelling is permitted, and to permit a secondary suite solely within a cellar, whereas a secondary suite is not permitted within a cellar. This is an image of the site plan, which was circulated along with the notice of hearing. This is an aerial image of the neighborhood for context. These are the current conditions on site. And these are the agencies that have provided comments, and I will summarize those comments for you now. Planning staff have no objections to the minor variances proposed by the applicant. They have reviewed the application in the context of the 4 tests set out under Section 45 of the Planning Act and are of the opinion that the minor variances meet the intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw, are desirable for the appropriate development of the lands, and are minor in nature. Heritage planning staff have the following comment. Staff have no heritage comments for the application at 578 Main Street West. There are no changes being made to the existing property that will impact the heritage value of the adjacent property at 582 Main Street West. Public Works staff and the NPCA have no comments or conditions. And back to you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Is the agent or applicant here? And can you come up to the microphone, please, and just kind of speak as to the reasons for the minor variance?
The minor variance is just to allow us to legalize 2 suites in the house. There's no changes being done at all to the property. The suites basically already exist. This is just a legalization, and we've heard no area or department that has any objection to the process. It's merely a matter of Grimsby bylaws are not up to the current provincial statutes, which say that 2 dwellings are allowed, so we're just legalizing it.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the committee?
I just have, sorry,
Yeah,
I
go
just
ahead.
have one through the chair. Just how long have they been in existence?
Well, they were in existence prior to us purchasing the property in 2018.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this? I see none. There's no one online. Okay, do we have a motion? Yeah, go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just give me a second. Let me just tab into the screen. Okay, the motion would be resolved that minor variance application A1925 for 578 Main Street West to permit 2 secondary dwelling units within a single detached dwelling, whereas 1 secondary suite per dwelling is permitted as per section 419A of the zoning bylaw 1445 as amended, to permit a secondary suite solely within a cellar, whereas the secondary suite is not permitted within a cellar as per section 419D of zoning bylaw 1445 as amended, be approved as the application meets the intent of the official plans, zoning bylaw, desirable for the development of the land, is minor and is consistent with provincial plans and policies. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Okay, do I have a seconder? Yeah, okay, seconded by Member Bailey. Thank you. So we'll put this to a vote. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand. Anyone opposed? No one's opposed. Okay, so that is carried. And there's a 20-day appeal period before it becomes binding. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next application we have is A2025 for 9 Lorne Avenue. I'll turn it over to the Secretary Treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the purpose of this application is to build a double-car garage to the side of the house. The variances requested are to permit a minimum rear yard setback of 1.2 meters, whereas 7.28 meters is required, to permit a 0.6 meter encroachment for eaves and gutters into the proposed setback, whereas 0.5 meters is permitted, and to permit a maximum lot coverage of 27%, whereas 25% is required. This is an image of the site plan, which was circulated along with the notice of hearing. This is an image of the neighborhood for context. These are the current conditions on site. This is what is proposed with the garage. And these are the agencies that have provided comments, which I will summarize for you now. Planning staff support the minor variances proposed by the applicant. They have reviewed the application in the context of the 4 tests outlined under Section 45 of the Planning Act, and are of the opinion that the minor variances meet the intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw, are desirable for the appropriate development or use of the lands, and are minor in nature. Public Works staff do not have any conditions. They have one comment. Public Works notes that town records show an existing sanitary lateral that runs along the property line of number 7 and number 9 Lorne Avenue that services number 408 Murray Street. This is an approximate location, and the exact location of the service should be verified by the owner. The applicant is to take every precaution to ensure no damages are caused by the proposed works to the existing sanitary lateral. It is important to note that this is a private civil matter, and the NPCA does not have any comments. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Is the owner or agent here? And would you be able to come to the microphone and just kind of speak to the reasons for the variances, please?
I live at 121 Central Avenue here in Grimsby. I'm here to I act as the speaker for my clients at 9 Lorne Avenue. The reason we're requesting these variances is we want to add a double-car garage to this property. The problem we have is that the fact that it's on a corner. Grimsby doesn't have a special allowance for the fact that we are actually building on their side yard, but it's being viewed as a rear yard. So like if we were one property over, like at 7, this wouldn't be an issue for us. The reason I also am asking for the overhang encroachment to be a little longer is we're just trying to match the overhang of the house that's there. And yeah, we're a little bit over on the lot coverage as well, just to give them enough space to put their vehicles inside.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee? Yeah, go ahead, Dylan.
Through you, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry, the last item that Dilhara made reference to about, sorry, I can't remember what it was. Sorry, I'm missing the words of something that was running sort of between the houses.
Yeah, the sanitary lateral. The sanitary lateral, yeah.
Right. So first question is if the agent is aware and is okay with this, and also does there need to be a condition that the homeowner, I'm not exactly sure what was said, but if it needs to be documented or mapped and submitted to the town or anything like that, or is this just it needs to be done and we do that in good faith?
Thanks for the question. I'm actually going to defer to planning for this one. Is this, it said it was a private matter. Is this something the town would feel that the committee could make a condition?
Through the chair, so it appears that it's a sanitary lateral, but there's no sort of town easement on it. It doesn't really cause an issue for the builder, like they're not encumbered by the location of an easement or anything. And it is ultimately a public works item. All that servicing stuff is public works, so I would be of the opinion that if they didn't request it, it wouldn't be required. So they did a full review of everything submitted and didn't see a reason to request any sort of survey or locationing of the sanitary lateral there.
Okay, thank you. Is that okay, Dylan? Or do we want to pursue?
No. If it's a private matter, that's fine. I just don't want to approve something should then there's be something happen. And then, again, if it's a private matter, then certainly we're not involved. So I'm okay with that. It seems to have been noted. So I'm not sure what the repercussions, if any, there are. So again, I guess we can leave that to the homeowners and they know that it's there. Should anything happen, they're responsible for it. I'm sorry, I'm not a planner, so I don't understand. If it's there and something happens, there's no easement, it's a private matter. Again, we'll leave it to them. I just wanted to ask because it was highlighted in the materials or in the statement by the secretary. Thank you.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you that it has the potential to be troublesome, dealing with the private sanitary line, but like I said, if Public Works didn't make it a condition, then anybody else in the committee want to comment on that?
Mr. Chair, just through you to the applicant's agent, are you aware of it, or was the homeowners aware of it, that this existed, or?
We did just find out about it. We found out that it's about 10 feet down from, it's 4 feet below the actual finished basement of the property on Murray. But yeah, we've just found out about this recently. Yeah.
So maybe perhaps a suggested condition would be that just be noted, because I think it's just more courtesy than anything, because you're right, it is a private matter, but it would be nice to make everybody aware that we knew about it and just gave additional notice for the applicant and the neighbor. It doesn't sound like it's going to be an issue, but you never know.
Sure. Do you want to work on some verbiage on that so we can get a condition in? Yeah, and with Dylan too, what do we want to say to have this on there? Okay, we'll leave this for now. Are there any other comments from the committee? No? Okay, what about the audience? Is there anyone here that would like to speak to this? Yeah? Okay, so if I can have you come up to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Oh, I don't know. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Laura Murray, one of the owners of 408 Murray Street, so that's to the south side of 9 Lorne. So we are very aware, as we've had to actually repair it over the 25 years we've lived there, the drainage, sewage pipe that goes through. So we're very supportive of our new neighbors putting in the addition, but we just want to make sure if there were damage or anything goes awry that we're not expecting, that we've got some safeguard to get it addressed and fixed without any interruption of service for us, and certainly not for any headaches to our new neighbors.
Yeah, that's fair. Thank you. Any other comments from the audience right now? Okay. All right, so we'll work on some verbiage on that. This is a new one for us. Oh, Adam, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure of the exact statement, but you could start off by saying something to the effect of that the applicant is advised of the existence of and I'm not sure the exact term, the lateral storms or drainage, whatever it was called, but yeah, just to say that we advised them.
Do we want to go further and say if damage occurs, that it be incurred? No?
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Dylan.
No, I would agree with Adam, but and I would also then comment, and then add that it is a private matter between the two, between the owners of the two properties. I mean, if this is not a municipal issue, then it's not a municipal issue. So, I mean, I do agree that it should be noted. So there is a record of it. But if it isn't something that if there is no easement and if Public Works has not made a comment nor planning, then I don't think that we need to insert ourselves any further. But I think the notice to say that they have been advised and that it is deemed to be a private matter between the two homeowners, I would say is sufficient. I don't know how comfortable I am sort of creating conditions that that then involve a municipality, which has said that it's a private matter.
Okay, so the condition would be the applicant is advised of the lateral sanitary pipeline in existence and that it is deemed to be a private matter. Is that okay with Adam and Dylan? And
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. I don't know if that's a condition, though. It's just more of a legal thing. It's maybe that they provide an acknowledgement that they are aware of this to the town, because otherwise, like, all we can do is add a condition. A condition is something they have to do or meet, right? So maybe Michaela can provide, like, I would just say that the applicant provide acknowledgement that the owner has been made aware of this to the town, simple acknowledgement, then they know that it's, and you can just quote this statement from Public Works. If they acknowledge that, then it's between the two owners to resolve. It doesn't sound like it'd be an issue, but you never know, like you said. So to make it a condition, if that's all we can add, then the condition I would suggest be that the owner or the applicant acknowledge this statement here in writing to the town that they're aware of it. Doesn't have to be a lawyer's letter, it can be their own acknowledgement letter in writing. So I'm prepared to make a motion on this then, if there's no further.
is there any further discussion or comments from the audience at this time? No? Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Resolve that minor variance application A 2025 for 9 Lorne Avenue to permit a minimum rear yard setback of 1.2 meters, whereas 7.28 meters is required as per section 7.2 table 11 of zoning bylaw 1445 is amended to permit a 0.6 meter encroachment for eaves and gutters into the proposed setback, whereas 0.5 meters is permitted as per section 7.2 table 11 of zoning bylaw 1445 as amended to permit a maximum lot coverage of 27%, whereas 25% is required as per section 7.2.11 table 11 of section of zoning bylaw 1445 as amended, be approved with conditions, the reasons being, and I'll get to the condition in a second, the reasons being that it's minor in nature, it meets the intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw, and it's appropriate for the development and use of the property, with the acknowledgement in the condition, as a condition, that they are aware of the existing sanitary lateral. So we'll put that in the minutes too, or as part of the reasons. So then the condition, I would say that the applicant provide an acknowledgement in writing to the town that they acknowledge that town records show an existing sanitary lateral that runs, I'm just quoting from Public Works, you don't have to write it all down, that runs along, this is an approximate location, it's just word for word, the applicant is provide, and that is important to note that is a private matter. So if they acknowledge that in writing to the town, I think I'm comfortable with that as a condition. Okay. To anybody else's?
Yeah, thank you for the motion. Any further discussion on the motion or the conditions? Okay, do I have a seconder? Yeah, okay, thank you. Member Billing is going to second that. We'll put it to a vote. So all in favor, raise your hand or say aye. I see no one opposed, so that is carried. And it's the 20-day appeal period also applies to this application. Thank you. The last application we have this evening is for application A1825 for 10 Baker Road South, and I'll turn it over to the Secretary Treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the purpose of this application is to convert the existing basement into 2 apartments. The variances requested are to permit 2 secondary dwelling units within a single detached dwelling, whereas 1 secondary suite per dwelling is permitted. To permit a secondary suite solely within a cellar, whereas a secondary suite is not permitted within a cellar. To permit 1 parking space for the primary dwelling unit, whereas 2 parking spaces are required, and to permit 1 parking space for the 2 secondary suites, whereas 2 parking spaces are required in total for 2 secondary suites. This is an image of their site plan, which was circulated along with the notice of hearing. This is an image of the neighborhood for context. These are the current conditions on site, specifically in regards to the parking situation. And these are the agencies that have provided comments, which I will summarize for you now. Planning staff have no objections to 3 of the 4 minor variances proposed by the applicant, provided the conditions below are met. Planning staff, however, cannot support the variance to reduce the parking requirement of the secondary suites. Staff's recommendation is that the applicant provide parking at a minimum rate of 1 space per dwelling unit. This represents a reduction in the parking requirement for the primary dwelling from 2 spaces to 1 space, while maintaining the requirement of 1 parking space per secondary suite. The proponent has not proposed plans to create 3 total parking spaces. Staff have reviewed the submitted plans and determined that there are 2 alternative options available that can allow for parking on site. It must be noted that option 2 is not preferred by the town's Public Works Department, as it is not consistent with the prevailing approach to limit residential lots to a single driveway entrance and may set up an undesirable precedent. Each option has its own set of conditions. And then there is one condition irrespective of the option, that is that the proponent provide and ensure a site plan that is accurate with respect to property boundaries. Public Works staff do not have any conditions but have one comment. Public Works notes there is no street parking directly in front of the property on Baker Road South or along Hedge Lawn Drive. Please note Public Works only permits 1 driveway entrance per lot and no additional entrances will be permitted. And the NPCA has no comments. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Is the owner or applicant here? And could you come to the microphone just to state your reasons for the variances, please? Oh, they're online. Perfect.
We can't hear you. It appears that you're talking, but I think you're still on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Sorry. My name is Gord Griffiths. I'm the agent for the applicant. When I received the comments from the relative departments, I attended the site, and with the reduction in the length of the parking space that was noted from 5.75 to 5.6 meters, we are easily able to accommodate all 3 spaces within the areas designated as Part B and Part A that were recommended by the planning department. So we can meet the requirements of the 3 parking spaces. So I'm just not sure what our procedure is moving forward from this point. Can the minor variance be approved subject to this revision being submitted, or what is the process if we are going to abide by that option A that the planning department recommended?
Okay, thank you. I'll defer that one to staff as well. So if I understand correctly, you're saying the site as is will facilitate 3 parking spots? 3 parking?
It will. sorry to interrupt. It will, with the reduction that was noted in the documents from planning from 5.75 to 5.6 meters, we can accommodate all 3 parking spaces. We have a small, roughly 1 meter extension of hardscaping to create an extension to the driveway, but everything else will remain exactly as is, so it will accommodate all 3 spaces.
Okay, thank you. Sarup or Mikola, who would like to speak to that? I'll give you the option. Yeah, Sarup, go ahead.
I can speak.
Thank you.
Speak to that. Thank you, Chair. So just to provide some context for this minor variance, we essentially went out and measured the driveway. And what they currently have is 2 parking spots, one that is about 5.6 meters before you hit the right-of-way, the public right-of-way. So the variance that we recommended essentially states that 5.6 remains, as 1 car can comfortably fit on that. And then the remainder of the driveway is extended about 2 meters to create about 11.5 meters, where right now there's only about 9, which would give that perfect tandem parking for 2 parking spots of 5.7 meters each that abides by the bylaw. So that's option A. It's essentially just kind of working with the existing property. The reason we provided option B, which is to create a secondary driveway, which we are aware is not supported by Public Works, is that tandem parking is often not recommended or preferred for secondary suites, or additional residential units, as it may create conflicts between renters. So that's basically the context there. We did go out and measure, like the agent suggested, there is room for that. It's just that we would require a plan to ensure that is carried out. So that's where that one condition comes in, where regardless of what option is chosen, planning staff will require a plan to review that the parking spots can be established within the requirements of the bylaw. So yeah, that's the context there.
Thank you. Okay, so to continue on with the parking, we would leave, if the committee deemed it appropriate, we would leave option 1, and essentially, Mr. Griffith, you're saying that option 1 would be met already. Is that correct?
Correct. There may be a minor alteration to the hardscape of the driveway by 1.5 meters, I think I measured it today. But we would do that as part of the building permit application. My question was more process for the minor variance. Do you need a revised drawing from me? Do we need to defer, or can you approve it without me having that drawing based on the comments that planning has made?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we can make our decision, and if that decision is an approval tonight, then one of the conditions is that you produce the site plan to confirm the setbacks, the measurements, the size and locations for parking. So that can happen afterwards. And then you just abide by our decision. Does that sound right? Are you okay with that?
Yes, that works perfectly. That's fine.
Okay, great. Are there any other comments from the committee at this moment?
I actually just do have a question in regards to this. May I ask my question?
Not quite. I'm not sure who's speaking right now, but we're just going to go committee first. After the committee, we'll go out to the public and the audience for comments as well. So Fabia, you had your hand up? Yeah.
Yes, through the chair. I need some clarification on this driveway. To me, it looks small as is. So are we hearing from the representative that the driveway as is will work with 3 parking spots? Is that what we're hearing? So the town planning department has recommended that they either add another driveway or they increase the length of this driveway. And he's saying he doesn't need to because 3 cars will fit in that driveway? And he's going to prove that?
Yeah, that's my understanding, yep.
It looks really narrow to me.
Yep.
If I can interject, the width of the driveway actually works to the requirements from the planning dimensions for a parking space. The length of the space where the two tandem vehicles will park is about a meter to a meter and a half to 2 meters short. So the length has to be increased, but it may not look it, but the width actually complies with what the zoning bylaw requires for the spaces.
All right, so the length will have to be, we'll have to add on to the length to make those two cars fit in there? Okay.
Correct.
And I have another question about 2 units being in the basement. This floor plan gives me no details whatsoever. What is the square footage of that basement?
You'll have to bear with me. I don't have that information right off the top of my head. The basement is very large. The history of this unit was, when this building was built, it was originally constructed as a community center, I guess you'd call it, for the new subdivision. So it was quite a large building with a large basement when it was originally constructed, and then it was converted into a residential dwelling. So the units in the basement, I can get the information if you give me time, but they are quite large. There is room for a full kitchen, a bathroom, a bedroom, and a living room, all in compliant with what the building code requires for minimum spaces. So the basement itself is quite large, and we will be able to provide the necessary exiting from the basement to meet building code requirement.
Okay, all right. Is the building being used currently as a rental? Is anybody living in the building? What's the situation with that building?
The building owner occupies the main floor. Their son is temporarily occupying a portion of the basement. And when the son moves out, the intentions are they want to convert the basement into 2 separate rental units with exterior access.
I just find it hard to visualize how we're going to have 2 apartments in the basement of this building without any drawings and without any elevations.
Yep,
That's
okay.
my point.
Yep, thank you. I see your hand up, Adam. You want to go ahead?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to the agent, just wondered if they can confirm that as they say that they accommodate the 3 parking spaces, they no longer require the parking reduction for the secondary unit.
I believe the reduction in parking, planning can confirm this, is for the primary unit, which normally requires 2 spaces. That one's being reduced to 1, and then each of the basement apartments will have 1 space each, which gives you the total of 3.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, just because I believe one of the variances says that it was 1 spot for 2 unit, but the 2.
Oh, you froze or went on mute there for a minute, Adam.
Oh, sorry. Just because I believe the 4th variance was specified that it would be 1 parking spot for both units. If plenty can confirm that.
Yes, that's what my original request was, because I didn't feel we could make the 3 spaces fit at the original full size of the parking space. But once the parking space length was reduced, we can fit the 3. So ultimately, we need 3 spaces, whether we're reducing the primary unit from 2 to 1. Functionally, we have the 3 spaces that are required, 1 for each of the units.
Okay, any other questions from the committee? No? The audience, is there anyone in the audience that would like to make a comment? I think there was someone earlier online.
Yes.
Can you please just state your name and address for the record, please?
Yeah, Dana Smith, and I'm in Deer Park Court. I just had some questions. Just out of curiosity, like when this is done, how many people are intended to live in the building and/or units? Are these going to be converted to like 1-person units, or is the intent to have more than that?
Okay, and what we'll do, just for for flow, is ask a bunch of your questions, and then I will defer them out or ask them out to Gord or Mr. Griffiths once you're through those. So go ahead.
Yep. And then my second question was, in reality, yes, we do have potentially 3 parking spaces. What about guest parking? With no parking available on Baker and no parking available on the street on Hedgelawn, where are guests going to be putting their vehicles? And then also just as an introduction, I believe the planning committee made mention about how this could be potentially precedent setting. Is there any clarification as to what would be precedent setting in regard to this? And then that's it.
Okay, thank you for those questions. I'm going to start with staff. Precedent setting, are you familiar with that? Is that something that is happening with this application? Saru?
I can answer that. Thanks. You, Chair. I believe the individual may be talking about the current zoning bylaw and official plan amendment that was put through by staff regarding changes to our OP and our zoning bylaw for adding additional units. So as we're all aware, that's a provincial mandate, and we're trying to adjust our current plans, or I guess amend them to better align with provincial policy, but also find ways to put provisions on things that we can, I guess, so it provides us a little bit of a greater control to review these types of applications. When it comes to setting a precedent, or if there's, I guess, referring to that question, we haven't seen patients come in. So this really is the start of this kind of provincial policy rollout. As far as I'm concerned, in the Planning Act Section 35B, 2 additional dwelling units can be within the primary dwelling. So essentially, you can have 2 additional units within an existing dwelling. You can have them in the back as accessory. So how that's kind of controlled, we'll kind of have to see how that unveils moving forward. But and we can also provide that greater context later on. But I know with that zoning bylaw amendment and that OP amendment, we will have a bit more provisions in our zoning bylaw and OP to kind of see how we can better manage these types of applications. And maybe Michaela, if you want to speak to any of this, but yeah, it is very new to us. So I'm hoping that what we put forth to the planning committee will provide greater context in the next couple months.
Okay, thank you for that. And just to kind of say, summarize what you said, but it's a provincial directive that this happen. And because it's a provincial directive, the town is kind of bound by that. And that's to increase housing supply. Okay, 3 parking spaces, guest parking.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead,
Mr.
Dylan.
Chair, just to interject just on the precedent setting piece. The Ms. Smith may be referring to in the planning report, if option 2 was the decision of the committee, which is not supported by Public Works. And I believe that was talking about adding a second complete driveway to the corner lot, that perhaps would be precedent setting.
Yes,
So
yes. Mm-hmm.
So I think that the precedent setting piece is what Ms. Smith is referring to is if option 2 should be selected by the committee. And my understanding right now is, and I can't speak for the rest of the committee, but the agent is in agreement with saying that option 1 would be the preferred option. So I think that sort of takes the precedent setting piece off the table from what planning had mentioned.
Thank you, Dylan, for that clarity. That is helpful. And is that okay, Ms. Smith? That makes sense? Yeah.
Yes, that's actually exactly what I was referring to. Yeah, just in regard to what the planning committee was. Yeah, thank you for that clarification.
Yep, yeah, I'm just going to go ahead.
I think as a follow-up, Mr. Chair, to the concept of precedent setting, although it is a concern that once you approve something like this or other variances on side yards, it's important to remember that every property is unique. There's so many unique circumstances about properties that make them, you can distinguish between them, although there might be the appearance that we're setting a precedent. In every case, there's something a little different. So the committee has to consider whether this particular property is appropriate to have option 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 spots or reductions. Because there are a couple of other factors that we talked about or that was mentioned, and it is a corner property. It is a larger property, that our building, larger than normal. It's a larger property. So there's a lot of unique circumstances about this one that would maybe lead us to approve it, whereas you would not approve it in another case, or not approve it in this case and approve it somewhere else. It's just a general comment. I'm not saying I'm for or against it, but in terms of precedent setting, every property is so unique and the circumstances are unique. We're not really too concerned about precedent setting, if that kind of helps.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. Parking spaces. Sarup, is there a guest parking requirement for these types of units at this point?
So while there may not be requirements, and I must say, I'm not sure off the top of my head, I'd have to go back into the Planning Act and ensure that, so I can't speak on the Planning Act, but for our official plan and our zoning bylaw, we specifically in our official plan states that, you know, we strive to provide like enough parking for visitors and primarily the residents of the house. So when staff were doing a site visit of the driveway, there is a public park down the road that has parking that is publicly available. Now it is limited by time regarding the park standard. So we believe that while there's no parking on Baker, that that lot, which is publicly owned, can be used. It is a bit of a walk, but it's not out of distance from the house. So yes, we're aware that, you know, guest parking may be an issue here. And another thing I want to mention that I said previously, that tandem parking, which would be the back-to-back parking itself, is also an issue. That's why planning staff recommended option 2 as an option if we wanted to build a driveway, just so there isn't any problems for the renters. But once again, those are provisions that we're still trying to figure out how to control and manage. Maybe control is not the best word, manage. But yeah, so there is some option for guest parking in and around the area.
Okay, thank you. And the last question, this last question, I'll go to Mr. Griffiths. How many people per unit are you anticipating for these rentals?
It's difficult to say. They're going to be open for public rental. The units would be able to accommodate 2 people. I think anything larger than that, it would be, the units might be too small, but the bedrooms would be large enough to support 2 people living in a unit. I think they are intended to be bachelor apartments, and so more than likely it'll be a single person in each one of the units.
Okay, so the basement apartments would just be 1 bedroom?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak to this? Yeah, would you like to come to the microphone? Just state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Mark Miller from 2 Tunbridge Crescent, which is just across the street from the property in question.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The reason we're here is we are concerned about the parking situation. As I read the current bylaw, there should be 4 parking spaces for what is proposed, 2 for the primary residence and 2 separate parking spaces, 1 for each of the new apartments going to the basement. As it stands, the current proposal is only adding 1 more space, which would still be insufficient parking for what is laid out here. We're still short 1 spot. In addition, with the tandem parking, I can't see tenants in 2 different apartments being satisfied with that arrangement, and I can see that leading to on-street parking out of sheer convenience, being able to get in and out. The reason my wife and I moved into the neighborhood in the first place 13 years ago is because it's low-density, single-family homes with ample driveway parking for everyone's vehicles, so that we don't have the street littered with cars and using the street as a parking lot. The issue I have here is there is no on-street parking on Hedgelawn. There is no on-street parking on Baker. And I can foresee a situation where the new units are going to use the street in front of my house as their personal parking spaces, which is, again, contrary to why we moved into the neighborhood in the first place.
Thank you for your comments on that. And that's what we're here to address. The -1 instead of 4 parking spaces, 3 is what they're looking to accomplish. And the tandem parking or versus a separate driveway. But yeah, you're noted what you said. Yeah, go ahead.
This is one house, but if every house on the street were to do this, the entire street would be turned into a Walmart parking lot, which is, again, not why we moved into the neighborhood in the first place.
Yep, yep. Thank you. Yep. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak? Yeah, please come to the microphone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Demetrius Salopakis. I live on 1 Pleasant Grove Terrace. My backyard is adjacent to the applicant's backyard where the parking is going to be. So I've been a citizen of the town of Grimsby for over 20 years, and I have concerns that I would like to express regarding the proposed driveway expansion. When my wife and I first moved into the current residence in the spring of 2001, we did so with an understanding of the position and location of the existing driveway of the residence behind ours. It was to this knowledge in mind that we designed our backyard area, which we enjoy very much during the warmer seasons. We are concerned by this proposal for several reasons. Firstly, we have concerns about the increase of traffic in and out of the driveway and the noise, car alarms, loud engines this will cause, which would be very disruptive for us. This would not only be negatively affect the enjoyment of our backyard, which we love, but it would also affect our comfort inside our home, as all of our bedrooms have windows facing the back lot. Secondly, we are concerned about the visual impact of the proposed lot. If it is not maintained properly, this could have a negative effect on our property value. Thirdly, we have concerns about the gardens and landscaping which face our back fence. We have spent years of working on an extended parking area would create a situation in which exhaust, vehicle fluids, and road salt could wash into our gardens, contaminating the soil, running the plants, and rendering our vegetables inedible. Finally, there is a safety concern regarding the design of the proposed parking lot. In the case of an emergency, the person whose car is in the far back of the lot would have to wait for the 2 other cars to move in order to get out. If one of these residents is not around or unable to move their car, this person will be blocked in. Even in non-emergency situations, this would be extremely inconvenient. We suggest an alternative to this proposal, the development of a second driveway at the front of the home facing Baker Road. This would serve as a parking for the primary dwelling, while the original driveway would serve as a secondary dwelling. This would pose fewer safety concerns while also accommodating all of the proposed dwellings. We hope the committee will take our concerns to heart when debating this proposal. We also hope that they will take into consideration our proposed alternative. And just to a point about the corner lots not having 2 driveways, there's 1-2 Linwood that has a corner lot with 2 driveways. So I just wanted to stress that. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your comments. Yeah, duly noted. Is there anyone else in the audience? Yeah, come on up.
Thank you. Christina Eisner of 2 Tunbridge Crescent. I also have concern over the parking. With the 2 additional apartments in the basement, there's potential for a minimum of 6 adults to be living in that one dwelling comfortably with only 3 parking spaces and no public transit of buses in this city. It's likely that all 6 adults would have vehicles and therefore where would they park beyond in front of my house or in front of somebody else's house? And the park actually has signs that people are not supposed to be parking in there overnight, and that's not a realistic option. So I agree that a second driveway would be the only viable option for this.
Thank you for your comments. Dylan, your hand is up. Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to the agent, just looking at the property, is there room off, sorry, I can't remember if it was Baker or Hedgelaw, for a secondary driveway? When I went there, I couldn't sort of envision where that would physically be put. Would it go right along the fence line? Like I mean, I guess my memory isn't so great, but the second driveway option didn't seem like it may be terribly feasible, but I'd like your comments on that, please.
We did not really fully explore it as an option. We felt that the option A was going to be the approach we would take. I suppose that where you're indicating along Baker, along the fence line would be the only spot that I think that it could fit. But when I went back out to site based on the planning comments, it appeared that it wasn't going to be a supported option, so I didn't pursue it as an option. So I can't comment with any certainty that it would fit or wouldn't fit.
Sorry, and just to follow up through you, Mr. Chair, has planning determined that? They've given us two options. It's option 2. It's not one that the planning department feel that they can support, although they've given it to us as an option to be the heavy if needed. But has it been deemed a real possibility by planning that there is room and that it can be done?
I'll put that to Sarup.
Thank you, Chair. So from our understanding of what was submitted, the plans that were submitted with the minor variance, a quick measurement of the area right next to the fence line on Baker, which would be the secondary driveway, which is correct. The applicant is correct where we would assume is the best spot, does have enough space for a double wide driveway and does have enough length for to meet the minimum requirements for a parking spot of 5.75 meters. So that's where we believe would be the best spot to put it as well. The reason that condition has been put in, regardless of what option goes in, is that we cannot, based off of the plans we have right now, we cannot 100% determine that it would work out in that sense. I don't want to say that we're not confident. We are pretty confident that it can go there. It's just we would need that plan to ensure that those parking spots have been put in an appropriate spot with the correct length and the correct width in accordance to the zoning bylaw. So while the space is there, the plan would be necessary to ensure that they're wide enough and that they are long enough as parking spots for the 2 additional units. So that's how we're trying to mitigate option B.
And Mr. Chair, just to sort of conclude this sort of my questioning is to make a comment that then if the secondary driveway went in where it could possibly go, although we're not sure, we then have neighbor concerns, as we heard from a gentleman earlier about the driveway running along, in that case, the back of his property, along his fence line, which is already in existence. We now have the same sort of conundrum for the neighbor at number 12. So both interesting to think about. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else in the audience want to speak to this or online? Okay, I'm going to put it to the committee. Anybody from the committee? Yeah, go ahead.
Through you, Chair. I'm looking at this driveway, and option 1 to me does not work. Even if they make the driveway longer, we have 2 cars, one behind the other. Pedestrians are never going to be seen. There's a privacy fence there. Anybody pulling out of that driveway, the second car that's up at the top of the driveway has to pull all the way back, and by the time a pedestrian gets to where the end of the fence is, he's not going to see the car, and the car's not going to see him. I think the only option I could support was a second driveway, either right just adjacent this driveway. If we're putting one apartment on the main floor and two in the basement, that could be up to 4 adults, so 3 parking spots minimum. If you have another parking spot to the left of where this car and this driveway is, it's probably the only place another spot could fit. I think it would work better. It's clearer access, someone pulling out of that driveway can see the corner, can see down the street. So option 2 definitely makes more sense to me. And I think that before the apartments are started, any construction's done, I think the driveways need to be done to satisfy the neighbors that this is going to be a safer place for them to park, and people can be visible as they walk down the street. So that's my suggestion. Since I don't really see a floor plan, I'm assuming the top apartment will be 2 bedrooms? Mr. Gord, does he have an answer for that?
Yes, the upstairs, which is the current primary residence, is a 2-bedroom. In the basement, the 2 additional units will be 1 bedroom each.
I think moving the driveway onto Baker Road causes a little bit of an issue. There's a light standard there. And coming out or exiting a driveway in the front of the house onto Baker Road, you've got a stop sign, you've got a lot of traffic. I think that could be a little bit of a problem, but I could only support option 2 on this project, building a second driveway.
Thank you. I tend to agree. Go ahead, Dylan.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. One, just a clarification question. If the option 2 with the second driveway went forth, just for clarification, it would just be a single lane driveway that could accommodate 2 cars. Is that right? And it would just become like a regular driveway that we would have at any sort of residential, home that has a single car driveway. And so if cars need to be moved, then they need to be moved. So we're not talking about tandem parking or anything, right? I just want clarification on that piece.
Okay, so I'm just reading condition 3 of option 2, that it not exceed, both driveways not exceed 12 meters, and that a single driveway does not exceed 6, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to go to 6. If I'm, the entrance is that, okay, thank you. The width of the entrance cannot exceed that, I see. So it could go more or less. And really, that would just be the design of the builder at the time. Adam, go ahead. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I think through you. Question I had was perhaps to planning or perhaps to the vice chair, given his numerous years of experience on the committee. Has a second driveway ever been put into another residence in Grimsby?
I'll defer that to the vice chair.
I can't recall. I was just looking on Livingston. For some reason, I thought there was some along there, but somebody pointed out somewhere here that there was another one. Yeah, what was the address again? No, sorry, the second driveway. I know they're around town. I can't remember us approving one, but.
Okay, 2 Tundra Bridge has one.
No, that's where they live.
Oh.
Sorry, which?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry, through the chair, we get inquiries for double driveways all the time. I can't disclose how many numbers, but a lot of the times they aren't supported by Public Works. So just for that context too, it is a common inquiry and a lot of times it's not always supported.
Before we get into crosstalk, because we need mics for the people online. I know there's one on Kerman, just at the corner. They recently put a garage in. But anyway, go ahead.
Sorry, and Michaela, I think, are you talking about double width entrances or double, like, second driveway entrance, like on a corner lot? This is unique in that it's a corner.
So a second entrance, whether that's a horseshoe configuration on a single frontage or a corner lot. And a lot of the time, the reason for that is it's additional interaction between the roadway and the driveway. So now instead of having one intersection of a driveway and a road, you now have two. You're doubling your sidewalk intersections. It's additional culverts, it's additional potential interactions with already existing infrastructure. So those are some of the reasons why Public Works wouldn't support it. I'm not in Public Works, so I don't have the details in this case, but it is in their memo that they're not supportive of it. And those are typically some of the reasons why, just for more context.
Thank you. And then the other one I just thought of now, there's one, and we approve the variance, I can't remember what for, but it's a corner, everybody would recognize it, Casablanca and Livingston. That house on the corner has two, one off of Casablanca, one off Livingston. There is a basement dwelling. We approve the basement dwelling, but the issue here is what's coming about. We're going to see more of this, is this provincial mandate to allow 3 units in a dwelling or 2 accessory units on the property. So you're going to see more and more of these because the biggest constraint is not usually the building, but the parking. And the parking is what causes problems with the neighbors. In this case, I agree. I think it's a unique property. It's a large building, but that means more residents, which means more demand for parking. But I think I commend this gentleman for coming up and not just complaining about it, but actually offering a solution. And I think the solution is the second driveway off of Baker. It's not a busy street. It's a quiet residential street. It would fit in the character of Baker Street. If you look down Baker on Google Maps, there's actually somebody parking illegally on Baker right in front of the no parking sign. Anybody recognize the white pickup? So I think that location in front of that bay window would be ideal, and there's front steps leading up to the first floor or the main floor, I'm assuming. So I think that would be an appropriate location in this case. It's not ideal, but I think because of the unique size of the building and the property and not adding additional parking to that gentleman's backyard, or the lady also spoke about that, and then offering another parking spot or another driveway entrance with these conditions about the maximum width being 12 meters, 6 and 6, or 1 not exceeding 6, would be a solution here, because I think you're going to have a problem with the number of occupants just based on the size of it. And we can't restrict the number of units, but we can restrict it through other means like parking and so on. So I think in this case, the second driveway is an appropriate option, unfortunately against what Public Works want, but it fits this case.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So Kevin, just to add to that, and then just for context, so Public Works would have to grant an entrance permit. They've said they don't support this. They're ultimately going to decide through an entrance permit if they're going to grant that or not. So you could make a decision to permit 2 under the zoning bylaw, but then Public Works could still say, we're not going to grant a second entrance permit because that's just not what our standards are. So that's just also something that needs to be considered when making a decision.
Yeah, thank you. I wondered that because their language is strong. It's not, we might not, it's that they don't support it. So yeah,
that's a consideration that the committee has to also take, is that you could amend the zoning bylaw, but then ultimately it's Public Works, it's a different department, and their entrance permits, they're not governed by the zoning bylaw, that they could just not approve of one anyway. So that's just additional information, and I guess like a risk also that needs to be taken into consideration in the committee's decision.
okay. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Dylan.
Sorry, I'd like to, I don't want to beat this with a dead horse, but given that information, then why, I'm just having a bit of a problem wrapping my head around this then. So if we sort of make a decision that goes to option 2, which would allow the homeowner to proceed with their plans, but have to put in a new driveway, and it's obviously up to the owner if they should decide to go with our decision or not as they progress with their plans. But then ultimately Public Works then comes around and says, well, thank you, Committee of Adjustment, for going with number 2. We told you we wouldn't support it. We're not going to grant an entrance permit. Therefore, we thank you for your time. So this is all a bit moot. So I would defer to anyone with, likely our vice chair that has more experience with this, but I have a bit of a problem wrapping my head around that. So, because, ultimately if staff is going to say no to an option that has been put forward, then it shouldn't have been given an option for us to debate this entire time. I know this is late in the discussions, and again, I don't want to beat this to death because we've been at it for quite some time, but I just sort of make that comment.
Yeah, thank you for that comment. Go ahead, Kevin.
The way I'm reading the Table 1 application summary, though, in the report is option 2 is, like you say, is the variance is actually to permit an additional variance to consider for option 2. So an additional variance would have to be approved. Then I don't see what the grounds would be for Public Works to deny an entrance permit if part of our approval is to permit a second driveway entrance on a corner lot. So that is a variance. So now he meets the zoning bylaw by way of this approval by this committee, if that's what we so choose. And the second is to permit a total combined width of all driveway entrances at the street line of 12 meters. So that's the second one. So now they meet the zoning bylaw. What's the grounds for Public Works to deny if the committee feels that's the appropriate solution in this case? Then if we do that and Public Works still finds some other reason to deny it, maybe there's a lateral in the way, or there's some Public Works reason, or traffic distance from the intersection, et cetera, then that would be up to the applicant to fight with Public Works over. But I agree, this was permitted or provided as a solution to permit, and this whole discussion was centering around option 2. Why did they give us this if it's not something we can consider? And in this case, hearing the evidence of the neighbors, I think this is the best solution. Again, if we had to redo it on Casablanca and Livingston, I might not have approved that one. I don't know if we approved the driveway, but whatever it was, that's a busy intersection. This is not. This is a pretty quiet residential street, and I'd rather see it off-street parking with a second driveway than parking on the street.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mikola.
Again, so through the chair, the Public Works, their entrance permits, they're not governed by the zoning bylaw. So for the reasons that Kevin stated, so such as distances from intersections, existing infrastructure, whatever else they use to judge whether an entrance is appropriate, are grounds for them to deny a permit there. Again, I'm not Public Works staff, but I would suspect that their lack of support for the application could have something to do with not being supportive of accepting an entrance permit there. But
thank you. Go ahead, Adam.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, just thinking this through is if the entrance permit was denied, wouldn't the applicant have a recourse to basically take this whole matter to the OLT and go for what they originally applied?
If I understand that right, so if we approve option 2 and then Public Works denies it, then they go to the OLT? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if, like I say, that is a possibility, because that would, like I say, leave it open to the parking reduction in the first place. That
Okay, thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
Sorry, I know we're going around in circles, but I'm going to read the option 2 in the staff report. Given the unique condition of a generous lot area at the corner location and with adequate room free of impediments, staff offer the following variances to construct parking spaces within a front yard of the lot. to bullet one, to permit a second driveway entrance on a corner lot, whereas a corner lot shall only have one driveway. So that would be the other variance we'd have to approve. Two, to permit a total combined width, and that was a driveway thing again. So I think it's a solution that's unique to this property, and given the adequate room and free of impediments, where that second driveway could be would be an appropriate location. And then we would have to attach a number of conditions which are in addition to the ones that were already included in option one. And the one obvious one is that the proponent provide and ensure a site plan that is accurate with respect to property boundaries, yeah. So again, I think it's an option given to us by staff because of the unique situation. I think it's an appropriate solution to this request. Again, we're being forced to implement this provincial policy that wants more housing in intensification in areas which I think in a lot of cases are inappropriate, but that's what we're stuck with.
Okay, I tend to agree. Option one, just to reiterate, I'm not in support of that. Sounds like no one here is. So option two, are you willing to make a motion on that? Okay.
Okay, so I'll move, resolve that minor variance application A1825 for 10 Baker Road South to permit 2 secondary dwellings within a single detached dwelling, whereas a 1 secondary suite per dwelling unit is permitted as per 419A of the zoning bylaws amended to permit a secondary suite solely within a cellar or basement, whereas a secondary suite is not permitted within a cellar as per section 419D of the zoning bylaws amended to permit 1 parking space for the primary, whereas 2 parking spaces are required as per section 5.1, table 3 of the zoning bylaw to permit 1 parking space for the 2 secondary suites, whereas 2 parking spaces are required in total for 2 secondary suites as per 5.1.3, table 3 of zoning bylaws amended. That we consider option 2, additional variance to permit a second driveway entrance on a corner lot, and to permit a total combined width of all, there's a typo in the width, should be width of all driveway entrance at the street line of 12 meters, so that there are a total of 4 legal parking spaces required as a minimum on this site. Be approved with conditions. Under option 2, proponent provide 3 separate parking spaces on the lot that are not encumbered in maneuverability. Each individual parking space is intended to be assigned to 1 dwelling unit. That parking spaces that are provided to the occupants of separate dwellings are not provided in tandem. So in other words, there could be 4 spaces, but 2 could apply in tandem to the first or the top floor unit, right? So there is 4 spaces effectively, but 1 for each unit is not, what do you call it? Encumbered in their maneuverability. Tandem parking is permitted for occupants of the 1 dwelling, so the top floor, as per section 454 of the zoning bylaws amended, and if an additional driveway entrance is permitted, that the combined width of the 2 driveways be limited to 12 meters and that a single driveway does not exceed 6 meters. So there might be some narrowing of the 1 second. Condition also, number 1 at the bottom, that the proponent provide and ensure a site plan that is accurate with respect to property boundaries, and the reasons being the variances meet the intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw with the conditions that we're attaching that is appropriate for the development and use of the property, again, with these conditions that are being attached, and the variances are minor in nature.
Adam, you had your hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just wondering if, with the motion, that last variance conflicts with the, I guess, the configuration of allowing the second driveway, because it does the parking reduction for the secondary.
I didn't quite understand that. Sorry, go ahead.
So, sorry if I can interrupt. I think planning had mentioned that only 3 of the variances were supported. So I think what Adam is saying is that the last variance be deleted. Is that right, Adam?
So we're going to remove a variance. Is it the permit 1 parking space for 2? That's.
You're right. Sorry, Mr. Chair, you're right, Adam. The second variance, or the last variance would not be required. In other words, we're requiring 4 parking spaces, 2 in tandem for the top floor, and then one each unencumbered by maneuverability for the other 2 units. Is that your interpretation? That's
Correct.
Thanks for clarifying, yes.
Clear as mud. I just want to get this straight, so I'm sure everyone understands with me. When I read this, it did say to permit 1 parking space for the primary dwelling unit, but we're changing that to, well, we're omitting that. Removing that out, and then the rest stays. Yep. Okay, I see your hand up, Mr. Griffiths. Would you like to speak?
Yes, I was actually confused about that as well. So the intention is then the new driveway on Baker then would be a double wide driveway. And then the existing driveway would be maintained as a double wide with no tandem possibility of parking there.
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that is correct.
Limited to the width restrictions, though. There is a total width of 12 meters, so 6 and 6, right? Or 8 and, well, I guess it's 6 and 6, right?
Yeah, 6 and 6.
Is that good for ride?
Yeah, okay. So we have a motion. Any further discussion on the motion? Or Mr. Griffiths, your hand's still up. Would you like to speak more?
Sorry, no, I didn't take the
Yep, no problem. Is there any further discussion on this? I would like to discuss this, because that last variance to have 1 parking space for the main unit could limit that driveway to a single driveway. And to give them that option might be okay, because town supported that we have 3 parking spaces for this. And, you know, that way we're not putting too much driveway on these properties. Can we limit it to 1? Go ahead.
So my suggestion would be then to remove that last condition about the width of the driveways, and that the new driveway be limited to 6 meters in width, which is a standard width, and that the existing driveway be limited to its existing width. Right, so that's not changing. So you still have 3 spaces there where it exists, 2 in tandem and 1 beside it, right, with the extended depth of 1 meter and a bit, so the car moves up a bit. So that width is not being changed. And then the new one is limited to 6 meters, which is a single driveway off of Baker. Does that make sense? So that variance for the number 3 in option 2, the combined width of the two driveways is permitted to be 12 meters, that be removed, but that a single driveway does not, the new single driveway does not exceed 6 meters. So we'd be amending condition 3 in option 2.
Condition 3 in option 2. So 6 meters, is that, it's 18 feet. Can you fit 2 cars in 18 feet? I think so.
If I could interrupt.
Yep.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Through you, Chair. So the 6 meters is the maximum width. So that would be for 2 cars. So the reason we put 12 meters is that both driveways cannot exceed the maximum width. So that would be the standard variance there that we recommended. And that's just based off of the fact that one driveway should be 6, no more than 6.
A question through the chair to the applicant. How wide is the existing driveway? Do we know? It doesn't have dimensions on it. So
I don't have any.
Part A and B? I see a red line with length of 11.5, but I don't see the width of A and B combined. So I just don't want to, I just don't want to, if we approve option 3, or sorry, condition 3 of option 2, you might be reducing the width of that driveway to 6 meters, which gets a little confusing here, but we.
Can I interject for a quick second?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm wondering whether or not I should request a deferral here, and actually come back with a plan at the next meeting. We're making lots of guesses here. I did not pursue The second drive-through option, driveway option, first of all, I have to discuss it with the owner with regards to cost, significantly more cost for the owner. But secondarily, if I come up with a plan, I might be able to approach transportation and have the discussion about them saying whether a second drive-through would be supported once they see a plan. My concern is I go through, I get you guys to approve a minor variance, and then I do have the other department reject it. So now we've spent the money for a minor variance that we really can't go any further with. So I'm kind of thinking, I've listened to all the input, it's all valuable. I'll try and entrench that into a new concept, a new design, and bring it forward at the next meeting or the meeting afterwards, and have a little bit more clarity now that I understand the direction that the design is moving in.
Okay, thank you for that comment. We have a motion on the floor, so would you want to amend it or stick with your motion?
Another great idea, that's two this evening, to defer it. I will withdraw the motion and support a motion to defer it, allowing the applicant time to submit a site or review a site plan with Public Works and his owner, or is that, yeah, the owner, to come up with an appropriate design for the second driveway option, if that's viable. So I would then withdraw and support that motion instead.
Okay, and defer till next month? Okay.
Sorry, defer to when the owner has the information available for the committee to consider, next month or the month after. I'm not going to put a time frame on it.
Okay, so just to a future meeting. Okay, do we have a seconder on that motion? Yeah, I see Dylan, you second that. Okay, so let's vote on this. So all in favor of the deferral until a future meeting, raise your hand. I see no one against. Okay, so this one will be deferred and not subject to an appeal. Good. Okay, so that completes our applications for tonight. Thank you all very much. And the next meeting of the Committee of Adjustment will be held on July 15th. And this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.